What's up, guys? Team DDN here. We got ourselves a new deck profile for you guys. This is my Shaddoll deck. Been working on this deck since it came out, but I got everything now, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. And definitely made the changes where it needed, made it more consistent, and I'm really enjoying it now. So yeah, here's the deck. Start out with 3 Mathematician. Mathematician gets your plays started. You open him, it's kind of tough to lose from there. You summon him, you dump your Squamata. Your Squamata sends Falco. Falco specials. So you're set up next turn. You get to you can make it 6. Well, pretty easily. Or well, in the case of Falco, once you flip Falco, Falco fetches your Squamata and specials him face down defense position, and then you can make a 5 with Matician and Falco, but I don't know. I mean, you leave him on the field so your opponent can attack over him, you get to draw, so it's pretty nice. Plus, you can't be super polyed, which is nice, and they mirror. The Shaddolls, 3 Squamata. Squamata is necessary at 3. It is your Foolish Burial of the Shaddolls. You know, dump. Once he gets dumped to the grave by a card effect, you get to dump another. So you kind of set your plays up with him and put more targets in grave, which is nice. And then we play Triple Hedgehog, basically your Stratos of the deck. You know, you flip him, you get yourself a Shaddoll Fusion Tan, and if he's destroyed by card effect, you get to get a Shaddoll monster from your deck to your hand, which is nice because you plus off this card. We play 3 copies of Beast. Beast is the Dark World dealings on crack, as I like to say. Once he's flipped, you draw 2 and discard 1, so it's really nice. And if it's destroyed by card effect, I draw 1. And obviously, any of you Shaddoll players, or if you're new to this deck, you must realize that they only get 1 of their effects per turn. So if he's flipped, it picks up his effect in a torrential, you can only grab 1 of the effects, which obviously is going to be his draw effect, his draw 2, discard 1, because I would prefer to do that than just draw 1. But there's ways to get around, like end phase shadow games, off of say you have Falco set shadow games, send him, flip Falco, Falco will special him in face down defense, you draw 1, next turn you flip him after you draw already, that's 2 cards, then you draw 2 and then discard 1, so you basically go on +3, which is pretty crazy with this guy. And then, of course, the guy we've been talking about, Falco. Falco's the tuner, one of the best monsters in the deck personally. It's sent to the graveyard by card effect, specials himself in face down defense. Already amazing. Secondary effect, you flip him, you special summon a Shaddoll monster from your graveyard in face down defense. Fantastic card. It's so good, it opens up so many plays for you. It's too good. And then we play 2 Dragon, your MST of the deck basically, and it's a problem remover. I mean, it shoots back Ophions to hand when they attack into it, and if it's sent to the graveyard card effect, you just pop back row. Which, that's why you don't need to run MST at 3 in this deck, because of this guy. He is a running MST. It's just, you shadow games this in the graveyard and they're end phase, they can't do anything. And then, your light targets. You play your 2 Veiler, because Veiler is so relevant right now. It stopped its relevance for a while, but in this current meta, this card is fantastic. You play your 1 BLS, because splashing BLS in any light or dark deck seems about right. I mean, if you have the ability to run light monsters with a dark engine, it's a no-brainer to run him. And then your 1 Felice. Not gonna lie, I draw this more than I'd like to, but if you can Mathematician, send this to the graveyard and special her, you got a quick Black Rose on the field. Or you can use your secondary effect to tribute yourself, pop a monster on the field, and then mill 3. So you pick up Shaddoll monster effects, which is so good. And then my own personal tech, because I really don't like late game sometimes because you're running out of resources. Your opponent is too, and it's kind of tough to play out of sometimes if you don't have much left in your deck. So you usually sit there with like a Shaddoll fusion in hand. There's nothing you can do about it, and you can't drop it on your opponent. But this card kind of makes it possible because it's too good. Exodius is really cool because you just hold him for as long as you can, and then just special him. He's a body on the field. Then you can usually just tribute him, which is what I like to do, and set your beast. So that way it sets you up for when he's flipped. So that way you can get more Shaddolls in your hand and in your grave. So you're just restarting. You just restart. So I suggest hitting one because you'd be surprised how helpful he can be, especially late game. Even if you draw him early, it's not the end of the world. He's a body that you can put on the field if all goes wrong. That's it for the monsters. For the spells, obviously triple Shaddoll fusion. Triple Shaddoll fusion is pretty mandatory in this deck. It's really nice if your opponent controls an exterior deck monster, you just send from your deck, which is just absolutely broken. Sometimes you open with this in hand and you open like this Falco Beast, and this is turn one. Turn one, if I open this plus Shaddoll Beast and Falco, I'm just going to go in. I'm just going to do this, fusion them, and then use those two as my fusion monsters, make my Winda, and then plus off of them by drawing from Beast and then specialing Falco, and I'll end my turn with 5 or 6 cards usually. So it's a kind of win-win situation. This card is just too good. We run 2 Forbidden Lance because I think Lance is such a powerful card. It's my favorite spell card personally. I think Lance is so good. It's been good since the day one really, because it protects yourself. It protects your window more importantly, because somebody's going to be a smart ass and try to summon a monster that's going to run her over, which isn't fun. So I'll just Lance them and make them die. That's usually the best way around it. So that way they can't special summon still, which is really cool. And I play 1 MST in the main. I side others, but 1 in the main's fine because you're not going to see shadow mirrors in the main, so 1's alright for the main. We made 1 Book of Moon because Book of Moons plus Shaddolls equals amazing. 1 Dark Hole because Dark Hole is still a great power card, I think. I think a lot of people underestimate how good this card is, especially with your decks that like to swarm the board. If you can hold them back a turn, if you can hold them back and not die and drop this on them, you cripple your opponent. I just think this card's such a power card. A lot of people just underestimate it now. And well, either side, those are not played at all. Well, I think people should main this card and actually see its potential. And then I play 1 Soul Charge because Soul Charge is Soul Charge, and you ever get yourself in a scenario, you can always drop this on your opponent and like usually stun them, make some stuff, some synchros, some exceeds, whatever you gotta do. That does it for the spells. On the traps, the most broken trap in this damn deck, I think, hands down, is Sinister Shadow Games. This thing is just crazy. You can do so much to your opponent with this. You could what you do is you send a Shadow monster, and then you can flip as many Shaddolls on your side of the field to face up defense position. So you get a grave effect, plus you get the field effects. So my favorite thing to do, if I have set Falco's set, I send Beast off of it, pick up Beast's effect, draw, Falco flips, specials him. So he's in face on defense, so I just drew, and next turn I'm going to flip him, draw 2 more and discard, and then probably make Arcanite Magician and just like blow your all your shit up. So this card makes that possible. This card is so good at 3. Like, it's incredible. Hands down best trap in this deck. Play 2 Breakthrough Skill because Breakthrough Skill effect negation is incredible, especially on the opponent's turn, especially in the mirror, because if you can break through their window, you can kind of go off from that point. 1 Time Space Trap Hole. I think it's a great card. It's kind of a fun one-off, and prevents a lot of issues, especially once pendulums start becoming a huge thing, especially next set I'm looking forward to, but this card will really hurt the pendulum summoning decks and stuff like that, plus extra deck problems that you don't want to deal with. And then one bottomless, one TT, one compulse, and one warning. And that rounds out the main deck. Onto the extra deck. To Linda. Linda is just too good. I mean, can't be destroyed by card effect. Can only special summon once per turn. Both players can. When she dies, you get Shaddoll Fusion back. And just do it again. She's too good in this deck. It's literally your go-to. I mean, the attack isn't huge on it, but if you could protect it with the proper macro, it's not going anywhere. I mean, you don't have to worry about running into TT, because that's just not a thing to this card. I play 2 Construct. Construct is your outs to any special summon monster. You know, your opponent makes a Leo, you make this card, and kind of fuck them up from there. It has a Catastor effect, so it doesn't target, so they just die. And when it's summoned, you get to send a Shaddoll from your deck to the grave. So that's even better incentive to have this card. And on top of that, it dies, it gets Shaddoll Fusion back. It's just one big loop that they can pull. But yeah, onto the synchros. One Catastor. I'm playing this for now. I mean, it's going to be Armades eventually, but honestly, with all the hype value around Armades right now, I'm not going to spend $40 on a card that doesn't even need to be spent on. Once the Megatons come out, it'll be in this deck, hands down. But I think Catastor is still a great card, and I may still just run it, but I just got to think of what I want to take out for it. It'll probably be one of the Exceeds, because this deck doesn't have to exceed very much. One Goyo Guardian, just absolutely incredible in this deck. I love it. It's cool to see this card back. This card just kind of changes things for your opponent. It makes them have to really play out of this card. When it first came back, I was like, okay, who cares? But, well, now when it's with this deck, it's like, oh, people should care, because they're trying to deal with your Shaddolls, while now they have to deal with him on top of that. So, one Arcanite Magician. The Arcanite Magician is incredible. I mean, it's cool to be able to make him in this deck. It's really easy too, because, you know, it's all spellcasters. So, you know, it gets two spell counters, and you can pop each spell counter off of it and just pop 2 cards in the field. So it's a quick board clear. Speaking of board clears, Black Rose, because if you get in a predicament, you Mathematician your Felice and make Black Rose, and boom, everything's gone. Start over. And then my last synchro is Leo, because, well, Leo is the only 10 that's relevant, and it's incredible. Targeting is huge in this game, and if things don't target, then you're kind of fucked. But that's usually one of your good outs to Fiend to Shane, and it really hurts the Mermails. Exceeds Castell. He's probably one of the better Exceeds right now. The generic 4 is he just takes cards and puts them back in the deck. So definitely Shadow Mirror on board, that's going back in the deck. This card handles that card, which is great. One Exciton, because board clear is cool. One Dweller. One Emerald. I never make him, but I feel as though he might be the one that gets dropped, but he's still a great card, so I still got to think about it. 101, because I love 101, and taking stuff is nice. And then 1/5, 1 Volk, because you can make Volk in this deck, so why the hell not? And burn your opponent away for game. It's really cool. Onto the sideboard. I don't have 2 cards. They're on their way, actually. It's actually 2 copies of a card called Stygian Dirge. Now the card, what it does is it lowers the levels of all my opponent's monsters by 1. It's continuous. So Satellar Knights and stuff like that, that card kind of fucks it up. So that and Burning Abyss. Those are going to be the 2 major decks you're going to see in this format, so why the hell not? So I start out with 2 Noblemen across out. It's just a great card, and you know, deals with a lot of flip effect problems and a lot of problematic face down monsters that I don't want to deal with. This card handles. 2 MST because, well, you know, back row, most of the things that hurt this deck are continuous. 2 super polys. Once you play that dark and light matchups, this card comes in instantaneously. It's such a good stun card. It hurts your opponent really bad, and you plus off of it because, well, you're sending your cards to the graveyard by card effects. So you pick up effects, you get a monster, they lose a monster. It's kind of win-win there. And I play 2 light mirrors because Satellar Knights, Bujin, Lightsworn, fuck them. 2 Needle Sealing because it does not hurt this deck at all, and it does nothing but punish overextending players. So I like Needle Sealing a lot, and plus Winda doesn't die with this card. 2 Vanity's Emptiness. It's kind of funny, I saw today this card spiked to $35, and I kind of laughed. I mean, for a short print common, that's insane, but I'm kind of glad I've had mine for a while because this card is such a good power card. It's nice, especially in Soul Charge, or say Burning Abyss player summons like a Tour Guide and you play this, they're kind of fucked. A lot of non-back row outs people have now, so they have to try to get over your big monster, which is pretty tough. Double DD Crow. It's always good. DD Crow is just kind of like a good shutdown card. So you play Satellar Knights, they summon Altair, and he goes to target Deneb. You DD Crow Deneb out of the grave, and they can't do anything about that. And they're left with 1700 monster that you'll run over next turn. So, great card. And then 1 Grand Mole for the mirror match because returning Winda is pretty funny, and it just keeps going back to you. So anytime your opponent tries to make something that you don't want to deal with, this guy handles it. So yeah, that'll do it for my deck profile, guys. Thanks for watching, and yeah.